Hey folks, my name is Dario Verbanek. I'm a local real estate investor and real estate agent in St. Catharines, Ontario. I specialize in the Niagara region and I'm here to give you your October 2022 market update. So let's get right into it. So what we're going to talk about in this presentation is a summary of what happened overall in the Niagara region in October 2022. We're going to take a closer look at what's happening in individual cities and markets. Then I'm going to tell you what I'm hearing from other agents in terms of what the market's like, kind of an ear to the ground, and opportunities in the Niagara region that have come up specifically based on new legislation that's only a couple weeks old. So let's get into it. In general, the Niagara market, as most other markets are doing right now, it continues to soften. It's slowed down a little bit compared to where the downturn happened a few months ago, but it's still happening. More specifically, the average days on market is now 44, which is up 18% from September. That's quite a big jump month over month. And the overall price is starting to slow down. It's not as big as the previous few months, but it's minus 1.3%. Now, in terms of investing in the Niagara region, there's many cities to invest in, but not all of them are worthwhile or worth your time. Specifically on the west side, up in Grimsby, there's population, but the prices are just too high, and the homes are very much new builds. They don't have side entrances for basement conversions, and the properties are small. Based on the price, it doesn't work. And then the other Lincoln, West Lincoln, Waynfleet, there's just not enough population to really support investing in that area. So in general, most investors will be putting their time and their energy on the east side or the right side of this red line in some of the more populous cities, as well as some of the areas that are a bit more friendly to investing, although not all of them are friendly, and I'll get into that. So we're going to focus and take a specific look at these properties on the east side. And we'll go through this fairly quickly. If you want to take a better look at the numbers, you can always pause the video. In general, from last year to this year, St. Catharines days on market is much higher. The price is lower. You can tell that the number of sales is down dramatically, although the number of listings is somewhat, the same. So this tells me things have really slowed down. People have started to realize maybe my property's not worth what I thought it's going to be worth. So they're not able to get the price they wanted, and they're just taking their home off the market and waiting for better times. It also tells me that buyers are being more picky. They're not just jumping into something, fear of missing out. So the number of sales are down. In terms of last month to this month, the number of listings somewhat the same. Number of sales is actually somewhat the same. And in a surprising turn, the days on market is actually a bit down, which is unlike any of the other cities in the Niagara region. So it's very interesting if this happens a couple months in a row. It's something we definitely want to keep our eye on. But for now, it's something to note that St. Catharines is slowing down in terms of number of sales. The price continues to go down, but I think buyers are starting to realize that it's a good opportunity, so they are jumping on it. Thorold, this isn't fantastic for investments, so we'll go through this fairly quickly. Number of sales from last year to this year has dropped dramatically. Again, not a lot of people invest here. Number of days on market is not only up from last year, but from last month. Welland is probably the most friendly city council when it comes to investing in the Niagara region. People flocked to Welland a couple of years ago, and they continue to flock there right now. Long story short, you can do 2-3 units in one structure on almost every property. They allow garden suites or coach houses in the back of most properties. Their city council is super easy and friendly to work with. And right now, most investors are directing their attention and kind of the most bang for the buck in terms of their effort and financial payoff to Welland, because they can put the additional units that some other municipalities don't allow. In general, days on market from last year up quite a bit as well. Number of sales from last month to this month is about the same, even though days on market is a bit higher. Again, fantastic place to invest. You can pause the video if you want to dive more in depth, but I want to get to the juicy stuff at the end of this. Port Colborne and Waynfleet, this is typically better for some of your cottage rentals, your short-term rentals along the water in Fort Erie. There are some areas of Port Colborne I would suggest investing in, and there are definitely areas of Port Colborne I would definitely suggest against investing in. So in general, same sort of story as Thorold and Welland. Days on market is up from last year. Price is down from last year. Fort Erie, similar, right? Prices are a bit down, although not dramatically from last year. Days on market have about doubled, and the price has only slightly gone down. It hasn't been that dramatic in terms of its impact. Niagara Falls can be very difficult to deal with. Nonetheless, we do want to just make a quick mention of it. Prices are down a little bit. Days on market from last month It's just about the same. Not many people go to Niagara Falls because they can be quite restrictive, but it is worth mentioning and displaying. And then Niagara on the Lake, this is your premium short-term rental, Airbnb style place to invest. Doesn't really work, and the bylaws don't really allow for duplex and triplex conversions, at least not yet. And you'll notice a substantial increase in the actual cost of buying a home in this area. But it is something to note that from last month to this month, quite a massive jump over 1 month, which would suggest to me that there might be some prime buying opportunities for those of you who are interested in the short and medium term rental space, which again, I feel very comfortable with, and I'd be happy to have a chat with you about. So here's what I'm hearing from other agents. Every time I go see a property, even if my clients are not interested, I'll call the agent, we'll have a chat, because I just kind of want to get a feel for what they're thinking and what they're hearing on the ground. So this one I have heard several times. Make us an offer and we'll work with it. And one way or another, the agent is either directly or indirectly saying, just give us something so I can bring it to my seller and I can convince them that their house is not what they thought it was worth. And this is probably near the top of what we're going to be able to do, and have them really reconcile what they can actually get for the property. In general, the public is about 2 to 3 months behind in terms of where the real estate market is. So it was very common to see people list in June and July and demand, March prices. And they're the ones you hear about in the news now that reappraised and they can't get the number because they bought at the peak, and then they're trying to sell their home after, and they're just getting sort of stuck in this middle. Really good friends of mine got stuck there. They didn't listen to advice from their friendly real estate agent, and they got themselves in a pickle. So as it turns out, agents are almost begging for people to make an offer on their property so they can work with their seller to try and convince them this is what it's worth, because this is all we're getting. Another thing I'm hearing, any conditions you want, throw them in there. We'll accommodate however many showings you need, how many inspectors, any kind of inspector you need. If you got to come back 2 or 3 times to see the property for mortgage or inspection, or if we have a pool, bring a pool guy on a separate visit, no problem, we'll accommodate. And that's showing a level of maybe not desperation, but understanding that the buyer tends to be a bit more in control these days. And finally, my sellers are starting to come to terms with the reality of the market. People are realizing it's not March, it's not April, this is where we are, and interest rates keep going up. So you either put it on the market now, or you risk things going even lower. Now, the exciting news. Every time we do these updates going forward, every month, I'm going to talk about either specific thing happening in the Niagara region or in a particular city in the Niagara region. This one's a general one, because just last month, October 25th, the provincial government came out with the More Homes Built Faster Act. And basically, they're trying to meet the housing demand that such a high level of immigration to Canada, specifically to the GTA, and the pressure that's putting on home purchases and the availability of homes. So what they've said, and this is really different than any other provincial government before, is they are going to override municipal zoning laws. So a lot of times, based on municipality, you'll see certain zoning laws that don't allow more than 1 actual unit per property, and sometimes 2, but then the basement will be restricted to like a certain size to discourage people from doing it, so the money doesn't really work out. So all these kind of ways to delay or deny without actually saying no, those are going to be gone with this legislation when it passes. They're allowing for 3 units on each residential lot. You don't have to go to the city council and ask for an amendment, a minor variance. This is going to be by right, and you don't have to get permission to do it. Some municipalities like Barrie, Ontario, and Kitchener did this. Myself and my wife, we actually built a garden suite, which I'm going to get to in a minute, on our property in Barrie. Super lucrative, and now this is going to be allowed everywhere. So a lot of investors like myself flocked to Barrie when they opened this up. They were one of the few that did it, and now they're going to allow it all over the province, which as investors, very, very exciting, especially in a region like Niagara, where you have some older homes, a lot of side entrance bungalows, and big properties in which you can build a 3rd unit in the back. And they're also going to allow 3 units in some cases to be built in the actual structure of the home that exists now, which is even more exciting because it tends to be a bit more cost effective. They're not going to allow municipalities to set restrictions on unit size. Currently in St. Catharines, for example, if you want to build a basement apartment, it can't be bigger than 645 square feet. irregardless of how big the actual space is. And then they're not going to allow the municipalities to mandate more than one parking space per unit. That's how some have got around people building and investing in their cities. This is an example, and this is from the government's own paperwork in terms of what they expect it to look like. 2 units in the main house, and then depending on where you are, they might call this back unit a coach house, a garden suite, a laneway house if you're in a laneway situation, but they're going to allow 3 on one property, which is super exciting. These units would also be exempt, and this is quite a cost savings, from development charges and what are called parkland dedication fees. This could save tens of thousands of dollars depending on where and what you want to build. So this is quite a not only opportunity for being able to do something, but for being able to do something at a much, much more cost-effective number. And then if this passes, the legislation would start in the summer of 2023. Now, without getting too deep into politics, it looks likely simply because of the power the provincial government has right now in the legislature. So this is something that does seem like it's going to pass, but until it does, you can't say for sure. But it also presents an opportunity because once it passes and people recognize this is something you can do, investors are just going to go crazy to scoop up these properties that either have the perfect main structure to build 2 or 3 units in, or a big lot with a side entrance where you can build a basement apartment as well as a garden suite in the back. So it presents a lot of opportunity. A lot of things can be, sort of exciting in the future for, and this is something that I'm certainly looking into. I've done quite a bit of research in terms of property sizes and locations that would be ideal for this. So once it passes, I can jump on it. And if the opportunity presents itself where I can get a good deal now, I'll purchase it right now and sort of wait till legislation passes, knowing, of course, that if it doesn't pass or it gets delayed, I can still do something and the numbers work with the property. So you always want to have a couple options based on what you can do with the property, not only just specifically depending on this legislation. We always consider short-term rental, mid-term rental as well. If you are interested in getting in touch or you'd like more information, you can reach me at my Instagram handle Dario Realtor, or you can email me directly at dario.verbanek@exprealty.com. This has been your October 2022 market update for the Niagara region. We will see you soon.